The Duke of Sussex at the High Court in London.
One phone call, 3 minutes, $36 million in debt. Prince Harry begged his brother for help. What Prince William said next will shock you to your core. The Montecito mansion is collapsing. Tyler Perry has vanished. Netflix wants their money back now. And William just delivered the most savage ultimatum in royal history.
Whenever I'm doing stuff, I'm constantly analysing where best can I use my platform for the greatest impact.
The relationship between Prince Harry and Prince William has been under intense scrutiny for years, but recent reports suggest the rift between the brothers has reached a new low. According to multiple sources close to the royal family, a private meeting between the two princes ended without the financial assistance Harry had reportedly been seeking. The situation, as described by insiders, centers on mounting financial pressures facing Harry and Meghan in California, and William's firm refusal to provide what some are calling a bailout. The story begins with what appears to be a routine morning at the Sussex residence in Montecito, California. Reports indicate that on a seemingly ordinary day, a courier delivered correspondence to the estate that would set off a chain of events leading to the emergency family discussion. The envelope contained a notice regarding the homeowner's insurance policy for the property, specifically a notification that the current policy would not be renewed. While this might seem like a manageable inconvenience for most homeowners, the implications for a property of this size and value in California are considerably more serious. California has been experiencing what insurance industry experts describe as a coverage crisis. Major insurance providers, including well-known companies like State Farm and Allstate, have been reducing their exposure in the state or withdrawing entirely from certain high-risk areas. The primary concern centers on wildfire risk, which has increased dramatically in recent years. Properties in areas like Montecito, which are surrounded by drought-prone vegetation and have experienced devastating fires in the past, are particularly challenging to insure. When insurance companies do offer coverage in these areas, the premiums can be extraordinarily high, and the policies often come with significant restrictions and requirements. For Harry and Meghan, this insurance situation reportedly created an immediate and serious problem. The issue goes beyond simply finding a new insurance provider. According to financial and legal experts familiar with high-value mortgages, there are specific requirements built into loan agreements for properties in this price range. When a property is mortgaged, the lending institution maintains a significant financial interest in that property until the loan is fully repaid. To protect their investment, lenders require borrowers to maintain continuous insurance coverage on the property. This requirement is not merely a suggestion or a best practice. It is typically written directly into the mortgage contract as a mandatory condition. The second critical detail that many people outside the real estate and finance industries may not understand is what happens when insurance coverage lapses. Most mortgage agreements include what is known as a default clause or an insurance requirement clause. This provision states that if the borrower fails to maintain adequate insurance coverage on the property, the lender can declare the entire loan in default. This is true even if the borrower has been making all monthly payments on time and has otherwise fulfilled every obligation under the mortgage agreement. The lender's reasoning is straightforward. Without insurance, their collateral, which is the property itself, is unprotected. If a fire or other disaster were to destroy an uninsured property, the bank could lose millions of dollars. What makes this situation particularly urgent is that lenders are not required to wait for a borrower to miss payments before taking action. The moment the insurance coverage lapses, the technical default occurs. At that point, the lender has the legal right to demand immediate repayment of the entire outstanding loan balance. In the case of a property reportedly purchased for over $14 million, with a mortgage believed to be around $9.5 million, this would mean Harry and Meghan would need to produce millions of dollars immediately or face foreclosure proceedings. The challenge of obtaining replacement insurance in the current California market adds another layer of difficulty to the situation. Insurance companies that are willing to provide coverage for high-value properties in fire-risk areas typically require extensive documentation, property inspections, and often demand that specific fire mitigation measures be in place. The cost of such policies has increased substantially, with some property owners reporting annual premiums in the hundreds of thousands of dollars for estates of this size. More importantly, many insurers require a significant upfront payment before coverage begins, which can represent a substantial cash outlay. Sources suggest that upon receiving the non-renewal notice, Harry immediately contacted his financial advisors to explore options. The advice he received was reportedly not encouraging. Given the current insurance market conditions, the size and location of the property, and the need for immediate coverage to satisfy the mortgage requirements, the situation required a solution that involved significant liquid capital, meaning cash that could be accessed quickly. This is where the reported financial strain becomes particularly relevant. According to various reports that have emerged over the past year, Harry and Meghan's financial situation may not be as robust as their lifestyle might suggest. While they signed reportedly lucrative deals with streaming platforms like Netflix and Spotify, the actual cash flow from these arrangements appears to have been less consistent than anticipated. Industry insiders have noted that entertainment contracts of this nature typically involve advances against future production, rather than guaranteed payments regardless of output. If content is not delivered according to agreed-upon schedules, or if the content does not meet certain performance metrics, the financial terms can change significantly. The property itself represents a significant ongoing expense beyond the mortgage payment. Property taxes alone on a home valued at this level in California can exceed $200,000 annually. Maintenance costs for an estate with 9 bedrooms, 16 bathrooms, and 7 acres of landscaped grounds are substantial. In a state experiencing recurring drought conditions, the cost of maintaining extensive gardens and lawns can be particularly high. Staff salaries, security expenses, utilities, and regular upkeep for a property of this size can easily run into hundreds of thousands of dollars per year, if not more. Faced with this insurance crisis and the potential for immediate foreclosure if coverage could not be secured, Harry reportedly reached out to his family in London. The request, according to sources, was for financial assistance to bridge the gap, essentially a loan that would allow him to secure the necessary insurance coverage and stabilize the situation while longer-term solutions could be explored. The call went to his brother, Prince William, who now controls substantial resources through his position as the Duke of Cornwall. The response Harry received was apparently not what he had hoped for. Rather than offering financial support, William is said to have questioned the fundamental decision to purchase such an expensive and difficult-to-maintain property in the first place. This response set the stage for what insiders describe as a tense and ultimately unsuccessful attempt to secure family assistance, marking what some see as a definitive turning point in the relationship between the two brothers and in Harry's life outside the royal family. Prince William's response to his brother's request for financial assistance was reportedly far from sympathetic. According to sources familiar with the conversation, William did not simply refuse to help. Instead, he conducted what insiders are calling a detailed analysis of Harry's financial decisions, particularly focusing on the Montecito property purchase. As the Duke of Cornwall, William now oversees the Duchy of Cornwall, an extensive portfolio of land, property, and investments valued at well over £1 billion. This position has given him considerable expertise in property management and a clear understanding of what constitutes a sound investment versus a financial burden. The Duchy of Cornwall is not simply a collection of assets. It is a working enterprise that generates income to support the Prince of Wales and his family, while also funding various charitable initiatives and maintaining historic properties. William's role requires him to think carefully about how resources are allocated and to distinguish between properties that generate value and those that consume it. This professional perspective reportedly shaped his assessment of Harry's situation in California. When examining the Montecito estate, William is said to have identified numerous concerns that suggested the property was not the wise investment Harry and Meghan may have believed it to be. The house itself has an interesting history that precedes the Sussexes' ownership. Before Harry and Meghan purchased the property for just under $15 million, it had been owned by a Russian businessman. Real estate professionals in the Santa Barbara area had noted that the property had been on the market for some time before the Sussexes made their purchase, which can sometimes indicate that a property is difficult to sell or that the asking price may be higher than what the market naturally supports. The physical characteristics of the estate raised immediate questions in William's analysis. The property contains 9 bedrooms and 16 bathrooms spread across a substantial main residence and additional structures. From a practical standpoint, this configuration presents significant challenges for a family of 4. The number of bathrooms alone represents a major maintenance consideration. Each bathroom requires regular cleaning, inspection of plumbing, potential repairs, and periodic updates. Multiply this by 16, and the ongoing maintenance becomes a substantial undertaking. Plumbing issues, which are common in any home, become exponentially more complex and expensive when there are 16 separate bathroom systems to maintain. Any problem with water supply, drainage, or fixtures must be addressed across multiple locations throughout the property. The estate sits on approximately 7 acres of land, much of which has been developed into formal gardens and landscaped areas. While this may sound appealing, the reality of maintaining such extensive grounds in Southern California is financially demanding. The region experiences regular drought conditions, and water restrictions are common. Keeping 7 acres of gardens, lawns, and landscaping properly irrigated requires enormous amounts of water. Water bills for properties of this size in the area can easily reach tens of thousands of dollars per month during peak summer months. Additionally, the labor required to maintain grounds of this scale is substantial. Landscaping staff, gardeners, and groundskeepers must be employed year-round to prevent the property from deteriorating. California's property tax system adds another layer of ongoing expense. The state calculates property taxes based on the assessed value of real estate, and while there are some protections against dramatic increases for long-term owners, the base tax on a property valued at nearly $15 million is considerable. Estimates suggest that the annual property tax bill for the Montecito estate exceeds $200,000. This is not a one-time expense or something that can be deferred. It must be paid every year, regardless of the owner's income, employment status, or financial circumstances. Missing property tax payments can result in liens against the property and eventually forced sale. The term that reportedly came up during Williams' assessment was white elephant. In property circles, this phrase describes a possession that is more trouble than it is worth, particularly something that requires enormous upkeep costs that exceed any practical benefit or financial return. The term has historical origins related to rare albino elephants that were considered sacred in certain Southeast Asian cultures. Possessing such an elephant was technically an honor, but the animal required enormous resources to maintain properly and could not be put to work like other elephants. Gradually, the term came to describe any burdensome possession that drains its owner's resources. Williams' perspective on this issue was apparently shaped by his own upbringing and his current responsibilities. While he grew up in palaces and grand residences, these properties were maintained by institutions with centuries of experience and dedicated budgets. The Crown Estate, the Royal Collection, and the various duchies have professional staff, established maintenance protocols, and financial structures specifically designed to preserve historic buildings. These are not personal residences in the traditional sense. They are national assets managed with public and institutional resources. Harry's experience with grand properties was similar, but according to Williams' assessment, Harry failed to understand a crucial distinction. Living in a palace that is maintained by an institution is fundamentally different from personally owning and maintaining a large estate. In the first scenario, someone else handles the unglamorous details like fixing heating systems, replacing roofs, managing staff, and ensuring that property taxes are paid. In the second scenario, all of these responsibilities fall directly on the owner. Every problem becomes a personal financial obligation. The comparison between institutional property management and personal ownership highlighted what Williams saw as a critical gap in Harry's understanding of wealth and expenses. Growing up royal meant that Harry never had to think about utility bills, maintenance costs, or property taxes. These things were simply handled. Staff appeared when needed. Problems were fixed. The buildings were always heated, always clean, and always functional. This created what some financial experts call a distorted relationship with money and property. Harry understood luxury and comfort, but he had limited experience with the actual cost of providing and maintaining these things independently. Williams' analysis extended to the ongoing operational costs beyond just the obvious expenses. A property of this size requires full-time staff, security personnel, housekeepers, maintenance workers, and potentially other support staff are necessary to keep the estate functioning. Each of these employees represents a salary, benefits, and employment costs that add up quickly. Insurance, even when it is available, is expensive for high-value properties. Regular maintenance like painting, roof repairs, HVAC system servicing, and landscape work requires constant attention and substantial budgets. The environmental concerns were also part of Williams' critique. As someone who has been vocal about environmental issues and conservation, William reportedly expressed dismay at the resource consumption required to maintain an English-style garden in a drought-prone climate. The disconnect between environmental advocacy and the reality of watering 7 acres of non-native landscaping in Southern California was not lost on him. Beyond the philosophical inconsistency, the practical cost of this environmental approach is staggering. What emerged from William's assessment was a picture of a property that requires enormous ongoing investment simply to maintain its current condition without generating any income or providing any return on investment. Unlike a property in the Duchy of Cornwall portfolio, which might be farmland that generates agricultural income, or commercial real estate that produces rent, or a heritage site that attracts tourism revenue, the Montecito mansion simply consumes resources. Every month, it costs money. Every year, it costs more money. And unlike a primary residence in a location where the owners have employment and community ties, this property exists somewhat in isolation from any clear income-generating purpose. William's conclusion, as reported by sources close to the situation, was that Harry had essentially trapped himself in a golden cage. The house was purchased during a moment of optimism about future earnings from entertainment deals and public appearances. However, the reality of generating consistent, substantial income outside the royal framework has proven more challenging than anticipated. The result is a situation where the property ownership itself has become a source of financial strain rather than security. Beyond the property itself, William's concerns reportedly extended to the network of financial relationships that Harry and Meghan had built in California. One of the most significant of these relationships was with Tyler Perry, the entertainment mogul who had played a crucial role in the early days of the Sussexes' American life. When Harry and Meghan first left the United Kingdom and briefly stayed in Canada, they faced immediate practical challenges. Chief among these was security. Having stepped back from royal duties, they lost the protection provided by British taxpayers, but their public profile and the intense media interest in their movements meant that security remained a serious concern. Tyler Perry stepped in during this vulnerable period. He offered the use of his private mansion in Los Angeles, providing the family with a secure place to stay while they figured out their next steps. More significantly, he reportedly arranged for a professional security detail to protect them. This was not a minor gesture. Private security for high-profile individuals, especially those facing the level of media attention that surrounded Harry and Meghan, costs millions of dollars annually. The kind of protection they required involved multiple trained personnel working around the clock, sophisticated equipment, secure transportation, and constant vigilance. Perry also became the godfather to Harry and Meghan's daughter, Lilibet. This personal connection seemed to cement what appeared to be a genuine friendship between Perry and the couple. Perry, who built his entertainment empire from very modest beginnings, has long been known for his generosity and willingness to help people he cares about. However, according to sources familiar with the situation, what began as an act of kindness during a time of need gradually evolved into something more complicated and financially entangled. The nature of the support Perry provided reportedly went beyond the initial housing and security arrangements. As the Sussexes established themselves in California and purchased the Montecito property, insiders suggest that Perry continued to provide various forms of assistance. The exact details remain private, but the suggestion is that Perry's support extended to helping with operational costs, particularly the expensive security arrangements that Harry and Meghan considered essential. For someone of Perry's wealth, these expenses might not represent a significant percentage of his resources, but they were nonetheless substantial in absolute terms. The issue that reportedly began to concern Perry, and that William later pointed to as evidence of poor financial judgment, was a pattern in how Harry and Meghan allocated their own resources. While Perry was allegedly covering fundamental expenses like security, the couple appeared to be spending their available funds on things that might be considered less essential. Private jet travel, designer clothing for public appearances, and expensive public relations services all cost money. For someone observing from the outside, particularly someone like Perry who built his wealth through disciplined work and careful business decisions, there appeared to be a disconnect between the couple's spending priorities and their actual financial situation. This disconnect becomes particularly notable when viewed through the lens of normal financial responsibility. Most people understand that before spending money on luxury items or non-essential services, one must ensure that fundamental obligations are covered. Housing costs, insurance, utilities, and security would typically take priority over discretionary spending. However, if someone else is covering the fundamental expenses, it becomes psychologically easier to spend available funds on other things, creating a situation where the benefactor is essentially subsidizing a lifestyle rather than providing temporary assistance during a difficult transition. Perry is known in Hollywood as a shrewd businessman. He owns his production facilities outright, maintains control over his intellectual property, and has built his empire through careful financial management alongside creative success. People who know him describe someone who is generous but not foolish with money. He understands the difference between helping someone through a rough patch and enabling financially unsustainable behavior. According to reports, Perry began to feel that the situation had shifted from the former to the latter. The visible evidence of this shift became apparent to observers in Montecito and was noted in William's later analysis of the situation. For the first couple of years after Harry and Meghan moved into their estate, the security presence around the property was formidable. Neighbors and people familiar with the area described seeing personnel who appeared to be former military or elite protection officers. These individuals had the bearing and equipment of serious professionals, the kind of security detail one might expect around a head of state. This level of protection is extraordinarily expensive, often costing several $1 million per year for round-the-clock coverage by experienced personnel. More recently, however, observers have noted changes in the security arrangements at the property. The personnel visible around the estate appear different. They seem to be from local security firms rather than the elite international protection services that were previously employed. While these local services are certainly professional and competent, there is a noticeable difference in both the apparent level of training and, importantly, the cost. This downgrade in security services suggests a significant reduction in spending in this area, which is particularly noteworthy given that Harry and Meghan have consistently emphasized their security concerns as a primary reason for various decisions they have made. The shift in security arrangements did not go unnoticed by William, who reportedly saw this as clear evidence of financial pressure. If a couple who had been publicly stating that they face serious security threats begins cutting costs in exactly that area, it suggests that financial resources are becoming constrained. For William, this was another data point supporting his conclusion that Harry's American venture was financially unsustainable. The reported breaking point in the relationship between Perry and the Sussexes came during a conversation where Harry allegedly attempted to leverage their personal relationship to seek continued or extended financial support. According to sources, Harry invoked Perry's role as godfather to Lilibet, apparently hoping that this personal connection would translate into ongoing financial assistance, or at least patience, regarding whatever arrangements were in place. The response Harry received was reportedly firm and final. Perry effectively communicated that the informal financial support was ending. This represents a common pattern in relationships where money becomes entangled with friendship. Initially, helping a friend feels good and seems sustainable. However, when that help becomes expected rather than appreciated, when it enables rather than assists, and when it continues indefinitely without any apparent path to independence, even the most generous person must reassess. Perry's decision to step back from providing financial support was characterized by people familiar with his thinking as a necessary boundary rather than an act of cruelty. William used this development to reinforce his argument against providing royal family funds to bail out Harry. His point, as described by sources, was pointed and direct. If someone like Tyler Perry, who had genuine affection for Harry and Meghan, and who had the financial resources to help without significant personal hardship, had nonetheless decided that continuing to support them was not wise, what did that say about the fundamental sustainability of their financial situation? William's logic was that Perry's withdrawal was not a personal betrayal, but a rational business decision by someone who recognized a pattern of financial mismanagement. The other major pillar of Harry and Meghan's financial planning was their relationship with Netflix. When the couple signed what was reported to be a $100 million deal with the streaming giant, it seemed to validate their belief that they could generate substantial independent income through media production. However, William's examination of this arrangement revealed significant problems that Harry had apparently not fully appreciated, or perhaps had hoped, would resolve themselves. The fundamental misunderstanding, according to industry insiders, centered on how entertainment deals actually work. when Netflix or any major studio announces a large deal with a content creator. The headline figure is often the total potential value of the agreement over its full term, assuming all targets are met and all content is successfully produced and delivered. It is not a signing bonus or guaranteed payment simply for agreeing to the partnership. Instead, these deals typically involve advances against future production. The studio pays money up front, but that money comes with expectations of specific deliverables within specific timeframes. In Netflix's case with Harry and Meghan, the company expected a pipeline of content: documentaries, series, films, and other programming that would attract subscribers and justify the investment. The initial documentary series about their departure from royal life did generate significant attention and viewership. However, according to reports from within the entertainment industry, the subsequent production pipeline has been far less productive than Netflix anticipated. Projects that were announced, including an animated series called Pearl that Meghan was developing, were quietly cancelled before completion. Other planned content appears to have stalled in development or failed to move forward. This lack of productivity has real contractual consequences. Entertainment contracts include provisions about deliverables and timelines. If the contracted party fails to produce the agreed-upon content, the studio has various remedies available. One of these is the clawback provision, which allows the studio to demand repayment of advances that were provided for content that was never delivered. Reports suggest that Netflix has invoked or is considering invoking such provisions, potentially demanding the return of approximately $20 million that was advanced for projects that have not materialized. For Harry and Meghan, who are potentially relying on continued Netflix payments to cover their substantial living expenses, this represents a catastrophic reversal. Instead of receiving additional funds for new projects, they are facing demands to return money already spent. Combined with the property expenses, the loss of Tyler Perry's support, and the insurance crisis, the Netflix situation compounds an already serious financial problem into what some observers describe as a genuine crisis. The combination of all these financial pressures, according to sources close to the situation, led to the emergency conversation between William and Harry. Harry's request was straightforward, though the amount was substantial. He needed financial assistance, reportedly in the range of $36 million, to address the various obligations and pressures that had accumulated. This figure would cover the outstanding mortgage, settle the insurance issues, address the Netflix situation, and provide breathing room to reorganize their financial affairs. From Harry's perspective, this was a temporary measure, a bridge loan that would allow him to stabilize the situation while finding longer-term solutions. William's response, as described by multiple sources, was unambiguous. There would be no bailout. The Duchy of Cornwall, which William now controls, and which generates substantial annual income, would not be used to resolve Harry's American financial troubles. But William did not simply refuse and end the conversation. Instead, he offered what he considered to be the only rational solution to the situation. He told Harry that the path forward required one essential step. The Montecito property needed to be sold. From William's perspective, every analysis of Harry's situation pointed to the same conclusion. The house was not an asset but a liability. It consumed far more resources than it could ever generate. It required ongoing expenditures that Harry's current income could not support. It had become a symbol of a lifestyle that was financially unsustainable. Pouring tens of millions of pounds into maintaining or saving this property would be, in William's view, throwing money into a bottomless pit. The only way to stop the financial hemorrhaging was to eliminate the source of the bleeding. This advice was not what Harry wanted to hear. The Montecito mansion represents more than just a residence. It symbolizes the independence and new life that Harry and Meghan sought when they left the United Kingdom. It is their refuge, their statement of success, and their children's home. Selling it would be a public admission that the California dream had not worked out as planned. It would confirm the narrative that critics had been suggesting all along, that Harry and Meghan were not financially prepared for independent life outside the royal system. The challenge of selling the property is compounded by the need for discretion. If Harry and Meghan were to list the house through normal channels, with public listings on real estate websites and traditional marketing, the media coverage would be immediate and intense. Every news outlet would report on the sale, analysing what it means for the couple's future and their financial situation. The asking price, any price reductions, the time the property sits on the market, and eventually the final sale price would all be scrutinised and discussed endlessly. For people who have been trying to control their public narrative, this kind of exposure would be deeply uncomfortable. To avoid this public spectacle, sources indicate that the property is being marketed through what real estate professionals call a pocket listing. This is an off-market sale where the property is not publicly advertised. Instead, it is quietly offered to a select group of potential buyers through private networks of real estate agents who specialize in high-end properties. Wealthy individuals and investment groups are approached discreetly with information about the property. Viewings are arranged privately, negotiations happen behind closed doors, and ideally the sale is completed before the general public even knows the property was available. Pocket listings are common in the luxury real estate market for legitimate privacy reasons. Celebrities and wealthy individuals often prefer to buy and sell properties without public attention. However, real estate professionals also recognize that pocket listings can sometimes indicate distressed sales. When someone needs to sell quickly, perhaps because of financial pressure or other urgent circumstances, marketing the property off-market can be a way to find a buyer fast while avoiding the perception of desperation that comes with a property sitting on the public market for months. The challenge Harry and Meghan face in selling is not just about finding any buyer, but finding the right buyer. William reportedly pointed out a particularly uncomfortable aspect of their situation. They cannot sell to their neighbors or social circle in Montecito. The reason has to do with the social dynamics that have developed around the couple in their California community. When Harry and Meghan first moved to the area, there was considerable interest and some excitement about having royals in the neighborhood. Montecito is home to numerous celebrities, business executives, and wealthy individuals who value privacy and exclusivity. However, as the financial difficulties became more apparent and as stories about unpaid debts and failed business ventures circulated, the social atmosphere reportedly changed. In communities like Montecito, social connections are often intertwined with business relationships and investment opportunities. When someone is perceived as being in financial distress, others in the community tend to create distance. This is not necessarily malicious, but rather a protective instinct. Nobody wants to be the next person asked for a loan or to invest in a questionable venture. Industry sources suggest that Harry and Meghan have experienced a noticeable cooling in their social relationships within the entertainment community as well. At exclusive venues like the San Vicente Bungalows, a private club in Los Angeles where entertainment industry deals are often discussed and relationships cultivated, the couple has reportedly found themselves increasingly isolated. People who might have once sought their company now seem to avoid them. Invitations to events have decreased. The warm reception they initially received has given way to a more cautious approach. This social freeze-out is driven by practical considerations. In Hollywood and in wealthy communities generally, association with financial failure can be damaging. If someone is known to be in serious debt, others worry about being asked for money. They worry about being seen as enabling poor financial decisions. They also worry about their own reputations being affected by close association with people whose ventures are failing. It may seem cold, but in communities where business and social life are deeply intertwined, these considerations are very real. The result is that Harry and Meghan are likely to need to sell the property to someone outside their immediate social and geographic circle. This means finding a buyer who is not concerned about the social dynamics of Montecito, who has the liquid cash to close quickly, and who views the property purely as a real estate transaction rather than as a social statement. These buyers are often foreign investors, investment syndicates, or wealthy individuals from other parts of the world who are looking for California real estate as an investment or occasional vacation home. Selling to such buyers often means accepting a lower price than might be achieved through a prolonged public marketing campaign. Buyers who can close quickly with cash and who are willing to purchase off-market know they are providing value through convenience and discretion, and they expect a discount in return. For Harry and Meghan, this means potentially losing money on the property when compared to what they paid for it, once transaction costs and any improvements they made are factored in. William's refusal to provide financial assistance, combined with his insistence that selling is the only viable option, represents what some observers see as tough love. William is not trying to hurt his brother, according to those familiar with his thinking. Rather, he believes that continuing to subsidize an unsustainable lifestyle would only delay the inevitable reckoning and potentially make the eventual crash even worse. By forcing Harry to confront the financial realities now, while there is still equity in the property, and before the situation deteriorates further, William believes he is actually helping in the long term, even if it does not feel that way to Harry. The broader lesson that William is trying to impart concerns the nature of independence and freedom. Harry and Meghan left the royal family in large part because they wanted independence and the freedom to live life on their own terms. However, true independence requires financial sustainability. Freedom is constrained by economic reality. By taking on a property and lifestyle that required income they had not yet secured, Harry and Meghan created a new form of dependency, this time on entertainment contracts, wealthy benefactors, and their ability to generate consistent revenue in a highly competitive and unpredictable industry. The monarchy, whatever its constraints and frustrations, provided financial security. The duchy incomes, the properties managed by royal institutions, and the support systems that came with being working royals created a stable foundation. Harry exchanged that stability for the promise of independence, but independence without adequate financial planning becomes a different kind of trap. William's message, harsh as it may sound, is that Harry cannot have it both ways. He cannot reject the financial support system of the royal family and then expect that same system to rescue him when his independent ventures struggle. As the situation continues to develop, the question of where Harry and Meghan will live after selling the Montecito property remains open. They will need to find housing that is more affordable to maintain, that does not require millions in annual upkeep, and that matches their actual income rather than their desired lifestyle. This likely means a significant downsizing, moving to a less expensive area, or renting rather than owning. Each of these options represents a visible step down from the grand statement that the Montecito mansion was intended to make. The emotional and psychological impact of this situation should not be underestimated. For Harry, this represents not just a financial setback, but a fundamental challenge to the narrative he and Meghan have been building about their life after royalty. They have presented themselves as successful, independent, and thriving outside the constraints of the institution. Selling the house under financial pressure contradicts that narrative and provides ammunition to critics who have questioned their decisions from the beginning. William's position throughout this situation has been consistent. He will not use funds intended for public benefit and the maintenance of historic royal properties to subsidize a private lifestyle choice that was financially ill-advised from the start. The Duchy of Cornwall exists to support the Prince of Wales and his work, and increasingly to contribute to public and charitable purposes. Using those funds to bail out Harry would, in William's view, be a betrayal of the responsibility he holds. His duty is not to his brother's comfort, but to the institution and the people it serves. This distinction, perhaps more than any other factor, defines the current state of the relationship between the two brothers and explains why this particular financial crisis has not brought them closer together but has instead deepened the divide between them.